Guaranteed. Also, save up to 50% off business and first class tickets.
855-325-1820. 855-325-1820. That's 855-325-1820. Have you ever met a single person in your life that enjoys paying taxes? No one does. If you can't sleep at night because you have a huge problem with the IRS, I've got some free advice for you. This service is strictly limited to individuals that owe the IRS $10,000 or more in back taxes. And if you qualify, we can guarantee that you won't be writing a big fat check to the IRS, or our services cost you nothing. The first 100 people that call today will get a free tax consultation worth $500. Stop worrying about your IRS problem. We can help you, we promise. Call the tax doctor right now. I mean right now, to learn more. 800-240-4587. 800-240-4587. 800-240-4587. That's 800-240-4587.
Why have thousands of aspiring authors teamed up with Christian Faith Publishing to publish their book? Because Christian Faith Publishing is an author-friendly publisher who understands that your labor is more than just a book. We provide authors freedom and flexibility throughout the publishing process, professional book editing, award-winning design, and some of the highest royalty structures in the publishing industry. And as always, you will retain 100% of the rights to your book.
I was looking to find a company that I could trust, one that assisted in the editing process completely.
The most important qualities that I was looking for was a publisher who was honest and upfront, no hidden costs or fees, and owning the rights to my own work.
Christian Faith Publishing will publish, market, and sell your books in all major bookstores, online booksellers, as well as specialty Christian bookstores. Call for your free author submission kit.
800-978-4812. 800-978-4812. 800-978-4812. That's 800-978-4812.
Welcome to Game On NTX with your host, Bill Lawhn and John Mitcham. I don't know if we might be having some technical issues with John or not, but we're gonna see what we can do. We're gonna go ahead and get into it a little bit here after we shout out our sponsor. Today's show is brought to you by Ensemble Co-working, Fort Worth's hub for private offices, co-working, meeting space, and virtual mail. Find your perfect workspace at ensemblecoworking.com. We got you, John?
Can you hear me?
Nope. Yeah, there we go.
Goodness.
All right,
Sorry,
buddy.
everybody.
What do you got for us today,
I got
John?
some quick hitters today. So to start it off, the Rays owner, Stu Sternberg, has decided to sell the team for $1.7 billion. Finally, we've all been begging for it. Finally, he did it. So hopefully they won't have a cheapskate in there. Hopefully they can do something with the great talent acquisition and scouting staff that they have there in Tampa.
Very good. Yep.
Also, the Jets have agreed to a contract extension with two of their star players. Garrett Wilson signed a 4-year, $130 million deal, $90 million guaranteed. And then Mr. Sauce Gardner signed a 4-year, $120.4 million contract.
Oh, nice, nice. Two of the better young players at their positions.
That's correct. And then the last thing I got, and we'll get into this later when we get into Texas and the SEC media days. Texas landed two of the top prospects in the country yesterday, the number one linebacker and the number one defensive tackle, Mr. Tyler Atkinson and Mr. James J.J. Johnson. They flipped them from Georgia, one of them being a local Georgia product, and the other one I believe is from Florida.
Yeah, he's from
but
Miami, the area.
He
Miami
is
area.
a very, very large man, and I watched some of his film, and he can throw people around. So that's what I got for the quick hitters, Bill.
Well, all right then. I'm just gonna we're just gonna jump right into this here. I got a little bit to say about Cooper Flagg as he finally made his Mavericks debut. Granted, it is summer league, but they threw him in right away. They played him a ton of minutes against the Lakers on Thursday, and it was a big deal. Like I said, we talked about this last week. Some of the most expensive tickets in summer league history. If you were hoping for a ton of points or a really efficient night from Cooper Flagg, you did not get that. They threw him in. They had him handling the ball a whole lot. He's, I don't know that they're going to play him a ton at point guard, but he can play that point forward, kind of like Scottie Pippen used to do for the Bulls back in the day. Yeah. He only had 10 points, but, he contributed in a lot of other ways. 6 rebounds, 4 assists. He had 3 steals.
Yeah.
His shooting, definitely a problem. When you go 5 for 21, I don't care who you are, that's not really good.
No.
He came back better. He came back better with the against the Spurs points wise. Everything else kind of took a dip. He scored 31 points against the Spurs, and I guess he was just so good scoring that the Mavs just said, "Hey, we're going to shut him down the rest of the summer." No, I joke, but I can respect the fact they don't want to get him hurt. They wanted to see what he could do a little bit, not go too hard with him, considering he's still so young. He showed some flashes. There's obviously talent there. The kid was the number 1 pick. He's going to be, I believe, a really good player in the league with a chance to be a really great player. If you can take away anything from that, he probably needs to work on his shooting a little bit. I mean, I don't know if it was just nerves or what you want to call it, but he wasn't he was 15 out of 42 from the field overall, and he only hit 3 out of 14 3-pointers. That's not going to get it done in this league.
Yeah.
But he's young. It was a start. It was good to see him in a Mavericks uniform. And now the other big news as far as the Mavs go is you hear LeBron James may be unhappy in Los Angeles. I have my doubts that he really wants out. But there's been talk of possibly a buyout. I don't know that that's going to happen. The Mavericks, between Vegas and all your NBA insiders, they're saying that the Mavericks are the favorites for LeBron. I'm so torn on that because he's still a really, really good player in this league, and he can help you a ton with ball handling and with a ton of other stuff. But for the Mavericks to acquire him, they're going to have to gut their roster. And you're going to have some really big stars with Davis and James and the number 1 pick Cooper Flagg, which I don't know, that might stunt his growth if he has to come in and kind of even take even more of a backseat to another player.
Yeah.
But I think one of the strengths for the Mavs right now is their depth. They have an incredibly deep team. They're an incredibly long team. My hope with this team is I don't expect them to be world beaters. We need to, going into the second half of the year when Kyrie comes back, I would like to see them as healthy as possible, which that's a big if with the guys we have. Healthy as possible. Kyrie starting to come back, and they're going to slowly work him back in. If they can be around the playoff picture, even if they can just sneak into one of the last few spots, if they go into the playoffs healthy, John, nobody's going to want to play this team.
And to kind of touch on it a little bit, the key is the best ability is availability. And if your guys aren't healthy, we saw it this year. The Mavs have talent even after they traded Luka, which I still have not forgiven that guy for. I refuse to say his name, but I still don't forgive him for that. And
no, I agree.
Even though we got Cooper Flagg, who I think is going to be a phenomenal player, I think the dip in Cooper's scoring, they always say summer league it don't take too much out of it, whether they light up the league in summer league or they play poorly in summer league. They tell you, take it for what it's worth. I would assume that he was told, hey, let it rip. Shoot. We want to see what you can do. We want to see volume, shoot the ball.
Yeah.
He's not going to be doing that when they line up to play the first game of the season. He's not going to be just taking 3-point shots just for the sake of it. But What we did see at times was elite defensive ability, elite athleticism. The guy is a stud, and he's going to be a very good basketball player.
He's going to be a defensive
He
monster
is.
right
He
off
is.
the bat. If nothing, even if his shot's not falling, he's still
He's
going to
gonna
give
irritate
you.
people.
He's going to bust. He's going to bust his ass, and that's I love seeing that from a young player. I don't care. There's guys that come into the league that they may think that okay, I've made it now. I can just
That's
coast.
not
I
gonna be
don't
him.
really have to put an effort. This is a kid that you watched him just from the start of the season at Duke. Everything they told him he needed to improve on, he
did.
worked on. He improved on. He got better over the course of the season. The fact is, he is a relentless
He is.
competitor. I love watching him. I love watching him go at people because he's not intimidated by these people. Yeah, he grew up watching them and stuff, but he's not intimidated by them. And so he's going to go out there, and even if his shot's not falling, even if other things aren't going right, he's going to play his ass off on defense.
Absolutely.
And that's going to do nothing but help this team.
And to touch on the LeBron thing, I don't want him anywhere near here. I know he's a talented player. I don't want him here because and it's not about LeBron and all the crap that goes along with it, right? The media circus, right? It's not about that.
Yeah.
He is a me over we guy, and I do not like that. I don't like the guy that wants to be here and be in the limelight. That's why Kyrie works so well here, because he's not a guy that cares about being the center of attention. He just wants to win, man. He wants to compete. LeBron has won everywhere he's gone. He's won a title at every team that he's played for. I know that he's a top 10 talent in the league, even at his ripe young age of 40? Is he 40 or 41?
Yeah, he's over
42, whatever it is. I know he's enormously talented, and he would help contribute, but I agree he's going to gut the team. And, you would have to gut the team to do that. Not he's going to gut the team, but I don't want to.
Yeah.
And, the clear connection there is he whose name shall not be said. I don't like it. I think it sets you back further because everything you're going to have to give up for him. That's my opinion.
Yeah, I like I said, I'm torn on that, but I tend to lean that way as well. Let's see what you got when Kyrie comes back healthy. Like I said, you're deep, you're long. You got versatile defenders. PJ Washington can guard multiple positions. Cooper can guard multiple positions.
Very flexible.
Anthony Davis and Derek
You got
Lively.
a lot of middle guys
Anthony
that
Davis
can do a lot of things.
Anthony Davis, if they're Anthony Davis and Derek Lively, if they're healthy, you got it locked down on the back end, which will help because D'Angelo Russell, who the Mavericks signed to presumably be the fill-in, until Kyrie gets back. D'Angelo's a good player, but he's not a really good defender. And so if you can have and Gafford, with those three guys, with Davis, Lively, and Gafford, if you can keep those guys healthy, at least two of those guys at a time healthy, those guys, that's a lockdown defense. I honestly, let me say this real quick. I think on the Gafford signing, I think we completely undersold it. I don't think I gave it enough attention because if you look at what his stats are extrapolated over to a full game, I mean he's 18, 18, 12, and almost 3 blocks. That's top level center play in this league. He's an above the rim guy. He's a defensive anchor. He gets a little careless with his fouls sometimes, but man, if you extrapolate that out, and he's coming off your bench.
Yeah.
So
I totally agree, and we'll see what happens. But one thing I'll touch on real quick, we're so gung ho on defense. Then why do we go out and sign D'Angelo Russell? I get why he did. I'm being an ass, because Nico.
I think that
Nico
was
shit in his hat.
Well, now you see the vision. No, you didn't know this was coming. You didn't know you lucked into this. This was not your vision. Maybe in a dream, but this was not your vision. Yeah. The thing is, the D'Angelo Russell signing. I agree, John. It's not ideal, but the fact is, this was the best of what there was.
I agree.
Did you want a 40-year-old Chris Paul? You want,
at least
Dennis Schroeder.
At least Russell can get hot and score in bunches. He can drop buckets. He can hit the three. He can dish a little bit. He's not going to offer you much on defense, but they're probably looking at it as, hey, we've got Gafford, we got Lively, we've got Cooper, we've got PJ in the middle. And not only that, you've got a guy that can play defense, and the kid we drafted or that we got in the Luka trade, Max Christie.
Exactly.
So he can play defense with the best of them. So
we're gonna be a very switchable team. It means on the pick and rolls, we can switch the pick and rolls and really not lose a whole lot.
As long as we can stay healthy, we're going to be okay and stay afloat till Kyrie comes back.
That's it.
So
that's
all
it.
right.
That's it. I will say one more thing. I did have one more NBA note, real quick. We didn't talk about this beforehand, but I have one more NBA note. I don't know if you saw Bradley Beal. The Suns bought him out, and he's going to go play for the Clippers. Going to go join the Beard and Kyrie. I think he's not he's not as talented as he was, but he's by no means a bad player. He's going to help them. But I just I think that does make them a little bit more dangerous. They traded Norman Powell, which I didn't think that was a great move, but he kind of struggled in the second half. Let's see. To me it's wide open. I know Oklahoma City's the favorite, and rightfully so after what they just did, the amount of games they won in regular season, winning a championship. But they're still beatable. The Mavericks showed that even with a beat up roster last year, they handled them and at Oklahoma City. Yeah. But I'll let you get to our next topic, which I think you got some more stuff to. I think you hit on a little bit of Longhorn stuff.
Sure, this is going to be Longhorn heavy. So, but it is the SEC Media Days. Those kicked off on Monday. Monday started with LSU, Ole Miss, South Carolina, and Vandy. Tuesday was Auburn, Georgia, Tennessee, and Texas. And the representatives for Texas was our commander-in-chief, Sark. Linebacker Anthony Hill, defensive back Michael Taft or Mookie Taft. And then you got, of course, the Prince, Arch Manning. Wednesday was Bama, Florida, Mississippi State, Oklahoma. And then Thursday is Arkansas, Kentucky, Mizzou, and the Aggies.
Does anybody really care about that?
No, I don't. So not here
anyway.
But, we don't care about that. So – the biggest things, I don't know if you saw it, but when they announced Sark, I don't know if you saw the SEC Media Days, they actually played the Aggie War Hymn with him walking out.
I did hear about that. That's punishable by death.
It should be.
Firing squad, walk the plank.
He was apologized to today before they started. The SEC commissioner apologized to Sark for that, which he deserves more than that. But it's pretty funny to watch somebody eat some humble pie. The biggest things that I want to talk about in the SEC Media Days, they announced some rule changes. They did. So they've got a rule change here to actions that simulate the snap. So what they mean by that, for you people listening and can't see me, I'll explain it the best I can. A lot of times especially when you're playing a high-powered offense like, Georgia can have at times or Alabama, a lot of times what they'll do is these defensive linemen will shift right before you snap the ball, causing the offensive line to jump off sides and move them back. Well, in doing this, they are going to eliminate this by telling the defense they cannot shift, which is instigating a false start. That will result in a delay of game to the defense, right? So if you cause the offense to jump either by going, they'll do that too. They'll just go, or they'll clap or whatever. That's the same thing. You're trying to instigate a false start. They're going to eliminate that totally, right? So that's the first one. The second one. And we all have seen this. I think every team is guilty of doing this. It's the defensive matchup substitutions. So this has come in a result of defenses subbing too slow, causing a delay of game or forcing the offense to call a timeout, which later in games, especially close games, every timeout is like gold. If you're doing that, it needs to be done at an athletic pace. Right. So what they showed in the media days was a guy, a defensive lineman, right? He's making a substitution. The coach is calling, hey, I need the defensive tackle and the defensive end to come out. Well, they're not going to sprint off the field. They're going to trot off the field. They're running slow. they're asking them to the defense. They're asking the defense to make a substitution within 3 seconds of the offense declaring there are set 11 men. Right. So if the offense makes a substitution, they have to give the defense a chance to substitute. So they're asking the defense to make that change within 3 seconds of the offense declaring these are our 11 players. You follow? So this is going to result in less of those delay games or, false, not necessarily a false start, but mostly delay games and forcing the offense to burn a timeout unnecessarily. So the last one, they did a special teams change as well, but the last one is after a ball is spotted, if a defender goes down faking an injury, the defense is going to be charged a timeout. Okay. So the fake injury, hey, we got, we're in a nickel package and we really need to be in a dime package. We got too many linebackers on the field and they're in 5 wide. Oh, I'm just going to fake an injury and we can make substitutions without having to burn a timeout. Not anymore. Now, faking an injury, the defense will be charged a timeout. If there's not a timeout, it will result in a 5-yard penalty. The last change is going to be a special teams change. So we all talk about the fair catch, right? How they'll do this, for a fair catch. Yeah. Sometimes it won't be seen, sometimes it will. But what they've started doing is they'll do the T, right? Like this, which is telling you, hey, I'm not going to go after the ball. That's telling the defense or the blocking, hey, we don't want to show we've got this special blocking formation set up. We're going to do this T, and that's going to result in us not returning the kick on a kickoff, right? Okay. Well, what they were saying was they're calling a fair catch any wave, right, or any sudden motion when you're about to catch the ball as a fair catch. Okay. The T is not going to be referred to as a fair catch. So you can't do the whole, oh no, I wasn't doing that. I was just stretching before I caught the ball or whatever they say. No longer will that be the case. It's going to be called a fair catch and the ball is going to be dead. So I think these are all changes that needed to happen. Yeah. I'm not calling any names, but Kirby Smart, he's kind of a little bitch when it comes to it. Well, he will do the shift right before the ball snap. Everyone does it. Kirby's just more. I don't like the guy. Anyways. Well. So I want to talk a little more about Texas, right? Yeah. And everyone hears, is Arch the golden boy? That my favorite, is if his last name was Smith, he'd be a 3-star. I'm sure we've all heard that. There's one thing I can tell you about Arch Manning.
Yes, sir.
Right. He has a football brain. He has an NFL brain as a senior in high school. Oh, the way he was raised, the preparation, the work that he does to be the quarterback that he has been for all these years and getting into college, it takes a special guy, right, to go to a big program that's rebuilding, right? Texas was rebuilding. It takes a special guy to go there and sit on the bench for 2 years and wait your turn.
I love how much the kid loves Austin, loves the University of Texas. Like we talked about, he could have gone anywhere and played the last couple of years. But he said, and you saw videos from when he was a kid, he always wanted to be, his dream is to be the quarterback at the University of Texas. And I think that barring something crazy, I think we're going to have him for 2 years.
We are.
Granted, he doesn't need the money. He loves Austin. He loves being the quarterback for the University of Texas. And he's going to be a great ambassador for the team, for the city. I like the kid. I really do.
Yeah, for him. It's about the development, right?
Oh yeah,
being ready for the NFL. You don't want to leave early and go to the NFL. Like that's a bad. Whenever he goes to the NFL, the Mannings are going to have those conversations. Yeah, he's not going to go in and start year one. They're going to want him to go in. They're not going to they don't want him to be the day one starter. I can guarantee you that because they know Uncle Eli, Uncle Peyton, they did it. They went in. They struggled mightily, right? They struggled, right? But all that to say, he was a pretty big hit at the SEC Media Days. Obviously, he's royalty, football royalty. So Texas, man, one comment, somebody was asking Arch questions, and they said, what do you feel about your Heisman hype? And the kid, like Arch Manning, right?
Yeah.
This kid, he said, man, I played like 2.5 games total.
I saw this.
Like,
Yeah.
he's like, I don't know where it's coming from, but talk is cheap. I'm going to have to go prove it.
Fact.
You know what? Damn right.
I love it.
The kid was raised the right way. He's not saying, oh yeah, I'm going to go out there and do all this. He said, no, I got to prove that I'm the best player on the field. Right.
He doesn't live on his name.
He doesn't. And he wants to build his own. And the proof is in his game, because Eli and Peyton, they weren't going to scramble and beat you.
No.
Right. Archie, definitely did. Grandpa definitely did back. Now, he ran for his life most of the time.
Oh, this is true. Well, New Orleans, that was back in those days, was really bad. Yep. Yeah.
That was bad, but God love Archie.
Oh yeah.
Archibald Manning.
He's
so they were asking one other guy I want to talk about is Ant Hill.
Okay.
Right? They asked Ant Hill some guys to be, who would you be surprised, or who's going to be a breakout player, right?
Yeah.
So on defense, he said Brad Spence, which was a transfer from Arkansas.
Yep,
right. He's a thumper.
Oh
right?
Yeah.
He said Zena Umeozulu. His brother is a guard for the University of Texas as well.
Zena's a pass rusher, right? He's an edge.
He's an edge. And then they said the other edge is one Mr. Colton Vasek, who's a pretty good player. Now he's had some injuries. He's got the tools. He looks great. Looks like $1 million. But they said he's going to surprise some people. And they asked him on offense who would be the surprise, and he said Ryan Wingo. Now,
I don't think that's going to be a surprise, really.
That's not going to be a surprise, because Ryan Wingo is highly talented. He's got NFL genetics.
5-star recruit. I mean,
he's a 5-star recruit. He did well last year, but he had something like 3 or 4 touchdowns. Maybe it was 6 touchdowns, 600 yards receiving, and he had LASIK surgery in the offseason.
Oh, nice.
So I don't know if a lot of people knew that, but he couldn't really see the ball, and he still did that well.
Pretty impressive.
So the kid, I think we're primed for a big year. And then, the guys that we picked up, he's out in Atlanta at SEC Media Days, and Sark's just got this big smile on his face, and he lands the #1 defensive tackle and the #1 linebacker in the country. He lands 2 of the top players in the country while he's there. He might as well build a house in Atlanta, because you talk about last year signing Justice Terry. I mean, he's on a heater. And then I'll tell you, Saturday's going to get even better. You know why?
Do tell.
I think we are in line for the next 5-star running back at the University of Texas. I'm pretty sure he's coming. And you know who I'm talking about.
Yeah, Mr. Cooper from Florida.
Cooper. Yeah, Mr. Derek Cooper from Florida.
I was reading the just taking a little peek over at the hurricane message boards today, and they were worried. They were a little sad. There were some hurricane tears going there.
A little bit of hurricane tears.
But they're disappointed.
We'll get back to some All-Star talk when we get back.
Sounds good.
Here's important new information from the Diabetes Solution Center for you, a family member, or a loved one suffering with diabetes. If you have lost your provider, or if you need a provider for diabetic supplies, you may qualify to receive your diabetic testing supplies now with little or no out-of-pocket cost, regardless of your age. All you need is Medicare or private insurance to be potentially eligible. Call the Diabetes Solution Center right now for details. Just takes a couple of minutes. Our friendly, knowledgeable agents will give you free, no obligation information, handle all the insurance paperwork, and make sure your supplies are delivered directly to your door for free.
Call U.S. Medical Supply 24 hours a day. 800-597-9323. 800-597-9323. 800-597-9323. Call right now. 800-597-9323.
Let's be honest. Wheelchairs are heavy, bulky, and ugly. If you carry a wheelchair in your car to take care of a loved one, you know how hard it is getting that clunky, old-style wheelchair in and out of your car. Introducing the Feather Chair Wheelchair. At 13 pounds, it's the world's lightest wheelchair. It folds in seconds and fits neatly in your trunk, backseat, or closet, so you can take it everywhere. And it's only available right here. Order yours today and get a free wheelchair case, a $50 value, yours free. The Feather Chair. The world's lightest wheelchair is just $4.99 with easy payments as low as $16 a month. Sorry, no Medicare or insurance accepted. So call right now to order yours.
800-823-5826. 800-823-5826. 800-823-5826. That's 800-823-5826.
All right, welcome back. Just a quick reminder, today's show is brought to you by Ensemble Co-working, Fort Worth's hub for private offices, co-working, meeting spaces, and virtual mail. Find your perfect workspace at ensemblecoworking.com. So I wanted to, I didn't get to finish totally talking about Texas. I want to bring up Mr. Michael Taff. He wore a tie to the SEC Media Days, and on that tie had the initials of some of the little girls that were lost during the flooding in Kerrville a couple weeks ago. Man, when you talk about the program that Texas is building, they're not just building guys that care about money and care. It's a people, like it's a culture.
Definitely.
They're breeding success through hard work and good people. Right. The NIL is obviously a factor as well, but he talked about that. And, you know, Michael Taff was a guy that he was highly talented in high school, but he was a walk-on at Texas, and he's earned his way to where he's at.
He could have gone a lot of other places and actually played. But once again, this is a dream if he has to play at Texas. He earns he earns practice time. He starts getting in on some special teams. He starts getting in on some stud packages. He becomes a starter. Last year, the young man was an All-American. That's hard work. That's dedication. That's love right there. He was raised the right way.
That's something you can't coach. Yep. You can't teach. That is a guy that is going to go play, even if he doesn't make it in the NFL, which I think he will. Is hard work. Yeah. Even if he doesn't, he's going to go far professionally. He's just a super good kid. So I wanted to touch on that. Again, thoughts and prayers to our friends and family down in Kerrville. We love you. Prayers, and I know that's a difficult situation. We love you. Yeah. We love you. So, Bill, you want to talk about the All-Star game?
Yeah, the All-Star festivities were in Atlanta over the weekend. Monday night they had the home run derby, which the man with one of the best nicknames in the history of sports, Mr. Cal Raleigh, the Seattle Mariners catcher, he leads the majors in home runs this season, and he wasn't my pick to take home the trophy, but the big jumper found a way to get it done.
Love it.
Found a way to get it done and take home the home run derby title. Of course,
I was surprised. Sorry to cut you off about that. He was the first catcher ever to win the home run derby. Is that correct?
If I can recall, I would say yes. I think it is. I think
Because like when
he is.
my pops was talking to me about it, and he's just like, dude, Mike Piazza never won it. I was like, I know, that's insane, because he was a good one too. But Cal Raleigh, man, that dude is unreal. He's impressive.
He's a beast. Unfortunately, he plays for our division rival, which
Yeah.
we're gonna have to see him for several years because he's a really talented guy. And we talked about if Raleigh hits 60 home runs as a catcher, is he going to win the MVP? It's tough, man. I would say yes because of the defensive
aspect, yeah.
value there. But man, Judge's numbers are they're just disgusting, man. He's just unreal.
I mean, here's the thing, man. Like, when it comes to Judge, how many of those home runs were hit at Yankee Stadium?
I agree, man, but he's not just a home run
hitter. I'm not saying that. I mean,
yeah,
he's a good ball player. Don't get me wrong. And I might be a tad bit biased, but because I do like the catchers. I think the catcher offers more value to the game, and doing that defensively on top of the offense that he's providing at such a high level.
Yeah,
I think it's a no-brainer, but I agree with you. I don't know. I think it's a coin flip at best.
Yeah.
Right now, they're probably 1A and 1B.
Oh, 100%. I agree.
We'll see where it all the dust settles. I agree.
Let's actually get to that. Let's actually get to the game last night, man. It was a really, really good game. Came down to they ended up having to go a little. They don't play extra innings. They unveiled a new feature last night called a swing off, and I'll get to that more in a minute. But the National League jumped out to a lead. Man, they were in first inning. They put 2 runs on the board in the first inning. You get the 6th inning. The polar bear Pete Alonso, who he hits a 3-run homer, and then Corbin Carroll gets a solo home run later in the inning. They're up 6-0 going into the 7th. Before the AL finally dented the scoreboard, Brent Rooker from the A's, he hit a 3-run homer. And Bobby Witt, Colleyville Heritage's own Bobby Witt Jr., he had a couple of big moments. He had an RBI ground out in the 7th to get him within a couple of runs. He had an RBI double. He ended up having an RBI double later on.
Man, that kid can play baseball.
He's a super talented kid. Definitely has the bloodlines, and it doesn't hurt our feelings that he's one of ours. He's from here, So he's a super talented kid. He's a hard worker, but he showed up and he played really well last night despite not starting the game. It came down to the end. The 9th inning, they got within 1 run. Had a guy on second base, but to start the inning, I mean, the game would have been over had it not been for the National League's defense. Eugenio Suarez made a phenomenal play on a slow roller, or on a bouncer to throw out a guy at first, and for the first out, they ended up pushing across the run. The AL would have gone to the bottom of the 9th with the lead had it not been for Matt Olson, who made a phenomenal play at first base.
Yeah.
But Steve Kwan, the Indians outfielder, young man's a good outfielder. He is an excellent contact hitter, an excellent clutch hitter, and he showed up last night with 2 strikes on him. He ends up hitting the chopper and beat it out, scored the run, tied the game. So the American League had come all the way back and tied the game. The National League had a chance to go to the bottom of the 9th and won it. They didn't, and they unveiled this new feature, the swing off. And what it is, each manager picks 3 guys, and you're not just going to go. Most of these guys, when they are the starters, most of the time they're not. A lot of them aren't even there. They get dressed and they shower and they go home. A few guys will hang around and watch the game. But so you're not going to have your stars, some of your big studs that started the game, unless you had some real bangers, some real bombers, or whatever you want to call them, real home run hitters. Whoever has that that played later in the game are going to have an advantage. You started out from the National League. I mean, you had Stowers from the Marlins. No great shakes there. Brent Rooker from the A's for the American League. Okay, that was pretty evenly matched. They had a slight advantage. Each player gets 3 swings to hit, to hit home runs. Those three swings, and it goes until you win. Whoever's, they had 3 guys. The real advantage for the National League was the 2 guys that the guys they had going second and third. I mean, no offense to Randy Arozarena and I forget the kid's first name. Aranda would have been their 3rd guy, but they never got to him because Dave Roberts from the Dodgers,
or something like that, or
Jonathan Aranda. Yeah. There you go. Dave Roberts, the Dodgers manager, he was able to roll out Kyle Schwarber and, if necessary, the polar bear Pete Alonso. Two guys that's all they do is mash. That's all they do is mash baseballs. So it turns out Pete Alonso didn't even need to bat because Schwarber gets up there. All 3 of his swings went for home runs. Game over. Game over. It didn't even need to go to the 3rd guy. And Kyle Schwarber, in doing so, he takes out, he basically steals the MVP from Pete Alonso, who hit the 3-run homer earlier in the game. And those guys, that was they got to figure out something. I don't hate the format. I don't hate that they did it. I probably, as a purist, would have rather seen maybe another inning. The National League at that time, though, didn't have anybody left in the bullpen, and you're not really wanting to injure your guy. So I think maybe I don't know, man. I don't know.
It's tricky.
The proper way to do it, because you don't want somebody to get injured and then they're mad at you, and it just they did what they did. They did something different. It was interesting. I don't hate it, but as a baseball purist, I probably would like to see more ball, but. This was fine, and it was kind of a fun way to end it, with Schwarber just tattooing baseballs like he's really, really good at doing. I'm a big fan of that guy. I was a fan of that guy when he came out, when the Cubs drafted him out of Indiana. He was a catcher / outfielder. Now he's pretty much just a DH. But that guy's an on-base machine, and he just hits.
He's an outfielder, but he doesn't do anything but swing a stick. That's all he does.
But I've been a fan of his since he came since the Cubs drafted him out of Indiana a few years ago. I thought this is going to be a really fun pick, and as it turns out, he's been a monster. But I just, like I said, I was excited that it was a good game. Didn't look like it was going to be. The AL came back, fought their way back into it, tied the game, and it was high drama with two strikes. Quan gets that little chopper, and thankfully he's really fast, and he beat it out, and the run scored and tied the game. But National League ultimately wins it, but it was an entertaining game. I'd say overall it was pretty good. I was pretty happy with it. The tribute to Hank Aaron. There was a tribute to Hank Aaron. For those that don't know, Hank Aaron broke Babe Ruth's home run record in 1974. Just actually probably it was like a month before I was born, I think. But the man has always been. He played most of his career in Atlanta. He's been a great ambassador for the game of baseball. I've always thought he was such a classy man. I always carried himself with such dignity. I named my son Aaron for that reason. Of course, as much as I love baseball, my son's name is Aaron Ryan. Hank Aaron, Nolan Ryan. I know it's a big shock there, but I've always thought Hank Aaron was such a classy man, such a classy individual, such a great representative for baseball, and to see him honored last night like that was. They did it in a good way. It made me happy to see.
Makes your sports heart well up.
Indeed, and this is going back to childhood, man. Like I said, baseball has been a game that's been in my life for as long as I can remember. My granddad, he taught me the game, and some of my favorite times were just sitting there watching games with my granddad, and he was always there to cheer me on when I played and tell me to unhook the trailer when I was trying to run the bases,
because you're the big dumper, light, right?
I did have even little skinny Bill had the big dumper back there. So I was dragging something as slow as I was running.
That's funny.
But no, it was an enjoyable game. It was good to see the tribute to Hank, and I just I thought that overall the festivities in Atlanta were really good for a city that had been under fire before because they had pulled the All-Star game once before. I was glad to see them put it back there, and I think Atlanta's a really great baseball city. I do.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure the College Sports Hall of Fame is there too, I believe. in Atlanta. I could be wrong, but anyways, I digress.
All right, John. What do you want to get into next, buddy? You want to talk a little bit of
Let's
Rangers?
talk some Rangers, man. I want to touch real quick on the first round pick that they had in the draft. Mr. Gavin Feen, right? And I'm not talking about this because he's committed to Texas, which he's likely not going to go now. Being a top 12 pick, you're not going to college. I read an article, and it was basically, hey, here's the list of teams. Who do you think is going to be, who do you think is going to make it to the majors? Who do you think is going to flame out? Well, of course, Gavin Feen was the guy for the Rangers. They think he's going to be pretty good. The guy that wrote the article, I didn't get his name, dang it, but he said there were 3 pound the table, pound your hand on the table, fist on the table. These are surefire kids that you need on your team. One was Mr. Gavin Feen. The other was Mr. Eli Willits, who ended up going number 1 overall. And Josh Hammond. And guys, don't judge me for the last episode because I screwed that mock all up, and I think everybody did. I don't think anybody saw Eli Willits going first overall. But the one I did get right was Mr. Holiday. He's going to Colorado. Now, I want to talk a little bit about the Rangers in general. Buyer, seller. Before I get into this, what do you think, Bill? Do you think they're buyers or sellers at the deadline?
From listening to CY talk, on other interviews that I've heard with him, I really do think that they're going to make some kind of move. My whole thing is you may have to subtract a little bit to add something else because I don't think they want to go over that apron. But I mean, who can you move right now? I mean, for a while it was Doley. It was Adolis Garcia, but I mean he's picked it up. They closed out the series in Houston, which is his second home. He kind of owns the Astros.
Mayor of Houston. That's what I say at least.
He's Houston's. He's the Astros daddy, if you will. He likes playing in that stadium because
he plays well in that stadium for sure.
And they boo him, which I get, but that probably just fuels him a little bit. Yeah. Because he sees that ballpark, he sees that team, and he's like, okay, now we're gonna have some fun.
That dude is yoked up too, man. That dude is massive individual.
God.
He looks like a bodybuilder, not a baseball player. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, he does. Yeah, like a linebacker, an NFL linebacker. He's huge.
He's ridiculous. So I think they're going to be buyers as well. And part of me, the part of me that says that is last season they were in worse shape at the All-Star break, and they held on to everybody. They didn't trade anybody. This year they're in a little better shape. The offense seems, and knock on wood, the offense seems to be trending the right way. Right. Let's just start there. There were reports, and I'm sure everybody who is a Rangers fan has seen it. There were reports that they were talking about Doley possibly getting shopped, if they could trade him, but he's kind of turned around. Really, and side note, really, really impressed with what Marcus Semien has done. He's turned it around. He looks like a different player.
Completely turned it around.
Defensively, he was always elite, but offensively, he's starting to pick up, which is great. We need that. Now, if we could just keep the outfield healthy, that'd be fantastic. Now, Doley, he's batting .234 with 13 home runs and 56 RBIs. The RBIs are nice. Want that average up quite a bit. Of course, he's again, not to beat a dead horse, but he's turned it up quite a bit.
Doley's never going to be a big average guy.
And
you're okay with that,
yeah,
because he hammers the ball when he's going right. He hammers the ball. He does it in big situations, and he still plays elite defense in right field. People don't run on him.
He's great. He's got a big arm,
but 100%.
So one guy now they're talking about the biggest needs for the Rangers, right? Is obviously another bat, right, and pitching, right. You can never have too much pitching. I'm a great I'm a great believer in that. I think you're allowed to have 13 pitchers on your roster, and I would be, if I was a manager, I would have 13 pitchers on my roster, bar none. There's no doubt about it. I am a big proponent in pitching, right? So, but before we get into that, talking about guys that could add and contribute immediately, especially offensively, there's one name that people have kicked around, and I think you and I have talked about this before, and that's one Mr. Marcell Ozuna. It's like you said before we started this conversation. They might want to shed some salary, and one guy that I'd like to shed, but nobody's ever going to touch it, would be Jock Peterson. He's hurt anyways, but he makes a lot of money to not play worth a damn. But Marcell Ozuna, his numbers are actually comparable to Dolly, except I think he's got 14 less RBIs, same number of home runs. But the biggest thing about that would be, it wouldn't be stupid expensive. It'd be a rental because he's his contract's up. You're not going to have to give up a lot for him, right? Yeah. Essentially, he would replace your offensive positioning for Jock Peterson. Now, Jock Peterson offers you a little more in the field than Marcell Ozuna, but
that's negligible.
Yeah, I mean,
the only thing I don't like about Ozuna's still he's got a lot of he's a lot like Dolly, but without the defense. When he's on a heater, he'll hammer the ball and he'll drive in a lot of runs.
He's a DH. That's what I'm saying. That's one guy that it looks like Atlanta's going to sell, right? It's
been disappointing.
Very
disappointing year for
them
this year.
They were pegged to go to the World Series, I think, or if not, make it close. At least the National League Series. But I think maybe a change of scenery. Even if he goes to the Rangers, I think you see him get dealt. Whether it's it wouldn't make any sense to me, right? But you trade him to the Yankees, holy God. Imagine a guy like that in the Yankees lineup, but
I don't want to.
Yeah, it sucks.
But
one interesting pitcher that might be available, he's had a rough year. He's got a 7 ERA right now, but he did win the Cy Young in 2022, Mr. Sandy Alcantara. That's a guy that I don't think he makes a large amount of money. He's still really young, man. I think he's 23, 22 maybe. He's a guy. He's not very old. I think. Now I don't know what you have to give up. You're going to have to give up quite a bit to get him. But
what kind of season has he had? Do you know any of his stats?
I've got his stats right here. He had a nice June, right? In June, he threw a 2.74 ERA. Actually, I don't have any of his stats. That's the next guy. But he's been shelled early in the season. In June, he seemed to have had fixed that a little bit. But I think you see the same thing in like Arizona, right? When you're just playing like trash, nobody wants to be there.
Yeah.
It's kind of going through the motions. Now, me as a competitor, I wouldn't do that, but I'm not making several $1 million a year. So, I mean, that's the main difference there, obviously. So, but that's one guy. Now that's, top of the list. Love to have him. The next guy that I'm going to talk about, I'd love to have him too. They are sellers for sure. The Arizona Diamondbacks. I'd love Mr. Zach Gallen. I'd love to have Zach Gallen.
You're going to have to give up a lot more to get him. I think Alcantara has been down a little bit this year, so I don't know that Miami would want to sell low on him. Zach Gallen, he's still been good this year, and they would take a ton to get him. And I don't know what they would want, and I don't know what we'd be willing to give up. I know that there's one or two that are completely off limits. One of them being Sebastian Walker.
I mean, these guys are silver tunas. right?
Oh, yeah.
You know, he's got a 5.4 ERA right now. He's a career 3.5 guy, so he's having a bad year, right?
Yeah.
I mean, everybody in Arizona is having a bad year. Now, another guy that you might want to talk about offensively that you could get is from Arizona would be God. Why am I drawing a blank? The first baseman.
Naylor, Josh Naylor.
Josh Naylor. Thank you. I wanted to say Bo, but that's his brother.
Yeah.
But Josh Naylor, thank you for that, Bill.
Yep.
Josh Naylor, I didn't write that down, but he's a guy that I would love to add to the Rangers lineup. He's a good bat. I don't think he'd be super expensive. You know, you'd have to give something up for him. Don't get me wrong, but you know, that's a guy that I would love to have in this offense. And then the last guy, it'd be more of a homecoming. He's up in Pittsburgh right now, Mr. Andrew Haney. He's had a pretty decent year, but he's expensive, right? I think he makes $10 million a year, something like that. Yep. Maybe it's more than that. He's quite expensive, but you know, it's one of those things where, you know, if Texas is not feeling great about, I wouldn't say Jack Leiter because Jack Leiter's having a decent season, but Rocker, you know, it's just kind of one of those, hey, what do they want to get rid of? You know, what do they want for him? You know, can we make it work? Possibly, you know, I don't know. Those are two of the guys, or a few of the guys that I would love to see here. You know, again, like you said, Sandy, Zach, they're going to be pretty expensive. I think the cheapest on that list was Andrew Haney. But I would say position-wise, like giving something up for them, you know, that's my 2 cents.
I would love to see a bullpen arm. I mean, they got to do something about their bullpen, John. Our bullpen's it's trash.
It's
as a good friend of mine would say, that's trash, bro. And they are. Their bullpen is bad. They at one point they were talking about Helsley from the Cardinals. I don't know how the Cardinals are playing. I'm not gonna lie to you and say that I've been paying attention to the Cardinals.
Yeah.
But that is a guy that if they are selling him, I would love to have that guy at the back end of my bullpen. Yeah. They've got a lot of guys that if you look at their ERA, that when they're not in that role in the ninth, they're really good. But if you had somebody back there, you slide them into their more natural roles, then it'd be a lot better. Yeah. John, you want to wrap us up tonight, buddy?
Yeah, man. You know, we're getting to that time of the season, you know, where it's almost college football, you know. So, you
August.
know, we'll be back next week. Neither one of us are going anywhere. We will see y'all next week.
From Burleson to Venus and Grandview to Godley, this is the voice of Johnson County, Joco Community